What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. If you would like to support my channel, please do check out my Patreon link down below. It's like $5 a month, a little more than a cup of coffee, and you can help this channel grow and continue to be successful. Now we're up to about 150,000 subscribers and climbing, so thanks to everybody who is subscribing on the channel. I really appreciate that. But today, we're going to not just do a review on this one, we're going to show you also some features and specs about this radio and probably why you want the T18 Pro versus maybe the T16. Are you trying to decide which radio you're going to get for this upcoming fall? The great news about this radio is that I have been using it all summer and I have about 3 months experience now. And this is kind of like a late to the game type of review because most of the other reviewers have done it, but what they did was an unboxing specs overview without a full summer's worth of experience with the radio. So a lot of them got prototypes like this one is here. And we're gonna talk about not only the specs and what the differences are between the T16, we're going to give you some real world experience and information on this radio out in the field. I have had this one everywhere on my road trips this summer. I've took a lot of FPV road trips with the Sprinter, and now I can finally give you a good opinion about this radio in a real world environment. So let's go ahead and put this one on the bench and let's talk about the features that it comes with. Also comes with a really cool case back there. Unlike the T16, it did not come with this nice case, and it's a 5-in-1 multi-protocol. So that means that you have many options. You can bind almost any receiver in the world to this radio with up to about 32 channels on here, 2 different types of receivers. We have the JR module bay in the back for a crossfire and just about any other module you'd like to put in here. And it comes with an internal module with 2.4 and this little 915 antenna on the very top, which is bendable. Unlike the 2.4, it's on a horizontal inside here, but we'll talk about that coming right up. Here we go. Let's go on the bench now. So this is the box you'll get in the mail, and this is the T18 Pro 5-in-1 multi-protocol JR style module bay, or now you also have the option to use the R9 in this one as well. It does have actual physical board in there for 915 megahertz, which is super awesome. You will have to update the firmware in the radio if you want to use your R9 modules. So that's one thing that they do actually give you a little note inside the box that says please update it. However, if you are getting this radio sometime in September 2020, actually maybe it came updated, but you want to update it to the June 15th firmware that is available on the Jumper website. So that's one thing to note for you guys. Now it also has a 4.3-inch screen. It has IPS on there as well, and it does have 2 power buttons. The original T16 had 1 power button on here, and that long press that and it turns the radio on. And I also had some problems with my T16. The ultimate switch that I use to arm is always this one on the left, right here my index finger is, and this switch stopped working for me. And it's probably likely because of the way that they have it wired in here. And Painless 360 also talks about that. And now with the new radio, they have updated the way that all of the switches connect to the board in here. So there's a major update on the inside of this radio, and I'm not going to open it up, guys, because it is quite a bit of screws back here, but you can pop these radios open by taking these side panels off, all the screws out, and there are also 2 hex screws at the very top you got to take off. But once you take this off, you will also see that we have this 915 antenna here. It is removable. You can put the 2.4 one on there that comes along in the box as well, which is nice. So you can switch these out or you can upgrade this, which is really cool. And just underneath that, you have the 2.4 antenna. So if you're wondering where your internal antenna is for internal settings for something like FR Sky and all of the different protocols that this radio does, it's a flat mounted antenna right across here, and that is not adjustable, whereas this one is. Depending on how you have your antennas mounted to your quad or your aircraft, if you are flying with this 2.4 inside with the internal module, what you want to do on your aircrafts, you want to have them horizontal mounted so that they match up. If you're running a vertical mount antenna, obviously you can have it this way, but that will be totally up to you. You're likely not to fail safe, but that's just some note for some of the new guys out there. Now, we also have some switches along here. This is usually my arm switch, which is SF. That's a 2-position switch, 3-position here. I believe that's SE right there. And we have another 3-position here, 3-position here, 3-position here, 3-position here, another 3, momentary switch here, and we have dials on the side, and we have rotary dials up at the very top, and we have 6 buttons across the top for APM or Pixhawk, which is pretty cool. We have digital adjustable pots here for your trim, which I never really use, but the 2 button is nice because if it's in your box, it's not likely to turn on when you're traveling, and that's the benefit of having 2 power switches. I kind of wish they were like a little bit further apart, like out here to here or something, which would probably be a little less likely, but you do have this strap brace right here in the middle. So the strap bracket kind of blocks something from pressing both of them at the same time, hopefully. But the cool thing is that it does come with OpenTX on here as well. So we're ready to go with OpenTX, guys. You can just open up a model, set up a model, and once you set up a model, you can go in and go right to the internal module. And this is so cool. Press on this. Right now I'm on FR Sky D16 because that's most of my receivers for my Tyrannus radios, but check this out. There is a ton of protocols in here. Fly Sky, DSM, so Spectrum guys. We have Corona, some formats that I've never even heard of. It even will do the MJX Bugs series quads, which is really cool. Bang Yang Toys, oh my God, they have everything in here. We have Futaba. I mean, the list just goes on and on and on for all the different drones you can sort of bind up to this radio. Tons of them. Fly Sky, you can do high tech, we can do Hubsan, wow, and J6 Pro, and it just keeps going. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of drones, even some of the Amazon drones are in here, like Potensic or whatever. They sent me one of those drones a while back. Walkera, I haven't seen one of those drones in forever. Traxxas even, you can do this on RC cars. That's amazing that it has Traxxas protocol. And we'll go all the way back to FR Sky D16, and that's my go-to protocol. Yes, and it's telling me that. So we have a few different switches on here. We have the system, which will get us into, I'm just gonna return all the way out to the main menu. We have press this system menu in here, and then we can go to the info screen here, and this will tell us what version of OpenTX we have, and it looks like Jumper version 529 there. So, and they do have a newer version available. It was like June 15th, and I believe that updates it to be able to use your R9 modules if you're using those, which is pretty cool. So you also have a telemetry screen here. You can get into your telemetry, and you can set up widgets, and you can decide how you want stuff to be displayed on the main screen of each model, which is cool. And we can page over there. We can add a view, a main view, and you can also add your own graphic on here. So I've done this before. I've added my Drone Camps logo, and the way you do that is you add an image inside the SD card in the pictures file, and then you can load it up on your user interface, which is really cool. If you want to add your pilot logo on the screen, that is so cool that you can do that. And the wheel over here, the wheel is a little bit oversensitive to me, and I'll show you just an example of that. I'm going to go ahead and go into the model here, and it's just a little fast. And when I was trying to name my models, using this all summer, a few times it kind of over moves on me. So, you know, when I click on that, long click there, and then I try to go make the letter I'm looking for, sometimes see how it goes past, I'm trying to get to the X there, and it'll go all the way out to Z or Y. And then sometimes it'll jump over to the next one before I actually got to click on it. So it might be that this was a prototype and that it's just a little oversensitive, but hopefully they've fixed that because it does feel just a little bit fast. The Radio Master has a little bit better feeling wheel on theirs. It does also have a rubber grip on the Radio Master version of this radio. So this is just a little bit fast for me. Maybe they have since fixed that, hopefully. But you can kind of see how it jumps around on me a little bit quick. So I'm just going to go ahead and exit out of there. But if you're trying to bind up the most standard receiver out there right now, which is the XM Plus, you want to put it on the internal module right there. Make sure that you're not doing it to start with the external, because some people try to bind up a receiver and then they can't bind up. It's because they're trying to use the external RF, and somehow they have set the external RF. People get confused and they turn that on. And when that's on, you're not getting an actual bind to your receiver because there's no module in that bay, and that's the external. What you're going to use for your XM Plus, if you're using XM Plus, is going to be the internal RF module. So don't get that confused. Just a tip for the new guys out there. And when you're ready to bind up, you're just going to hit bind right there. You're just going to go to bind. You start your bind process, telemetry 1 through 8 there. Yes, that's correct. Then it'll start beeping. Then you can hold down the gold button on your XM Plus, plug in the quad, and you should see a green light come on the receiver. You will also see a green and a red light together, so don't worry if you still see a red light. Then unplug everything really quickly, and this will stop, and it should show you when you turn on the radio again that you have a green light on your receiver. Make sure that this radio is sitting at least 3 to 4 feet away from your receiver, because sometimes when you get the radio too close to the quad, you'll see a red light on the receiver. It's just weird. It doesn't work too close up. So another tip for the new guys. Now, one other thing about this radio that I noticed right away was, hey, look at these really cool backlights on all of the different channels here. We have everything labeled with backlights. That's really cool. Along with the carbon interface, I believe you can get newer overlays as well. You can get, I believe there's a gold version coming as well. I'm gonna try to get the gold or the carbon one for the next version of this coming out, but the faceplates look really cool, and you're probably gonna be able to find alternate faceplates out there. I'm sure there's somebody making T18 faceplates. So if you want some cool like graffiti or something like that, they're probably around. Also, the speaker is right in the middle, and mine seems to be a little bit kind of muffled. It has a weird kind of crackle to it when it does the voice prompts. So that's one thing to be noted about mine. It doesn't seem to have that good of a speaker, but it also has a nice foldable stand back here. If you want to set it down, you can fold this in and out, and that's kind of nice when you put it in the box or a bag. If you're using a certain type of transmitter bag, it goes just a little bit flatter than the T16. The T16 did not have a foldable kickstand, so that one stays like it is. But that's kind of nice that you can fold this one up and down to make it smaller for transport. Now you can also turn off these lights. If you go into the system menu, you can scroll over and you can see configure crossfire there, a few different tools for different protocols, and we'll just page over. There's the firmware for if you're going to use Lewis scripts or any type of crossfire settings. And I believe it was in the system menu right here. And this is where you can change the date, the battery meter range. You can turn down the beep volume, which is kind of cool if you don't want beeps. You can also turn on and off the haptic, which is nice. And low battery alarm, we want that on for sure. Backlight, mode for both, on. And we'll just leave that at both. And the screen is actually pretty bright. I had great experiences with this summer, really nice. And it goes to dim your screen. I can actually turn that down to about 5, which would be nice. And this is the keys for the backlight, and they're off, and that's how you turn off the backlight if you don't want all those on. But it's kind of cool. I'll just leave them on for now, but yeah, they just look really neat. And that was the first thing that I noticed when I turned on this radio. You can turn on an alarm, power off delay there. I changed that because sometimes I believe the default set to 5 seconds, and it just takes forever when you're holding the buttons to turn this thing off. So they have a new version of OpenTX now that allows you to change that. I think it was stuck to 5 seconds for like a long time, and it's really annoying. So now I have a really quick off. It turns on and off really quick. 1 second, boom, and it's off. That's really nice.
Welcome to OpenTX.
And now we're back on. Now, not a lot has changed as far as the exterior of this. It does have a little more angles to it. It does still have rubber grips on the side. It has rubber grips in the back for your fingers to rest on, which is nice. They're not over grippy, which is interesting. It's a little more dense than some of the other radios rubber out there. But you can take these off to access the screws. And this is your module bay cover right here. This will allow you to put different modules in. I don't have any fingernails, but there's your connector there for your modules. And you want to keep this on so that your module pins don't get bent. And just under this hatch right here, we have the 18650s in there, and it does not come with 2 batteries, so you have to get some batteries, or you can power this by a 2S battery that will fit in this bay right here. This is the SD card down here, and I'm just gonna tuck those wires down in there, just like that, and we can put this back on. So I think that what we have here as far as the update goes, that this is a nice update to the T16. Now, if you're looking for a radio that will pretty much do anything at a pretty cheap price, the T16 is still a pretty decent deal. You just have to know how to be able to replace switches. There are 3 wires going to each switch. You just use your soldering iron to put a new switch on there. It's not the end of the world. You can get these switches pretty cheap on eBay. I believe you could even probably order them on Amazon, but this is a nice case as far as transporting it for my trips this summer. It was absolutely perfect, and it kept me from having some hanger rash on this radio. I tend to break switches when I'm traveling, and my X10S right here has tons of broken switches, as you can see on here. This radio has been everywhere for several years and just really has a ton of damage because of not having this one in a case. And this is kind of an example of what will happen to your radio if you don't have a case. So it's really nice that it comes along with a case, and it will keep this radio hopefully without broken switches. You can also replace these switches as well. It's not going to be the end of the world if you do break a switch, and switches are cheap. But also in the box, we did get a cable. We get a screen protector, which I should absolutely put on mine, because the first thing I did with my T16 was scratch it somehow. Something got pressed up against it, and then that was that. You can use the simulator with either one of these radios. It does have a USB port and a 3.5mm jack in the very top of it. The 3.5 supports PPM there, and this will plug straight into your computer. And this is also a USB-C, by the way, so it's the newer style. It's not the Android style cable, and you get one of those in the box. This is the USB-C port right there. So you also get some extra gimbal accessories here in case you break part of your gimbal on the inside of the radio. You can fix that, and you get some different tension springs in here as well. If you like to have a little less or a little more tension, you can switch out the springs on there, or you can adjust them by the screws inside the radio. But this version of the radio starts out around $159. It does go up to like $169, and then $200 for the maxi version, which runs out with Hall gimbals and all the bells and whistles. But depending on what you need, I honestly think you would be just fine with this version without the Hall gimbals. You can see there is no silver ring around the outside of this gimbal. And the biggest difference is that the Hall gimbals have this sort of aluminum sounding interior. You will have dual ball bearings in this one though. So it does have really nice gimbals in this standard version. So $159 with all these bells and whistles. It's probably one of the best deals for a radio out there on the planet right now. The T16 will probably be even cheaper now that this one's out. So I'll put both of the links down below, and you guys can decide. There is another version of this one. The next version with Hall gimbals goes up to around $169, and then there's a $200 version of the T18. So you have 3 choices there for the new T18, which is really cool. But this is an awesome update, and I love it. So now my T16 is not getting flown. It just kind of sits around. So I'm now using the T18 for my daily driver. So thanks again for watching, guys, and checking out this long-winded review of the T18 and all the new features on this one. It is an absolute awesome radio, and I'm gonna give it 2 thumbs up on my channel. This one is my go-to, guys. Take care, and please do subscribe on the channel. I'm Justin Davis, guys. Take care, and I'll see you on the next one.